I started at the very bottom. I didn't even get like unlimited prepaid. I started where I had free talk and text and I had this much data for internet. I don't even know how much that plan cost. It may have been like 30 bucks. Okay. Now I'm saving $170. Hey y'all, my name's Ryder and I was able to replace my HVAC income with pop-up shops and vendor events. But let me share with you how that was actually made possible by the things that I have done, tried and true, that have worked for me. I'm going to share those with you in today's video. So without further ado, let's hop right into it. So in order to make all of this possible, the first thing, most important thing I had to do was to create a budget. Now, wait, before you go, let me explain that a budget, no one really likes to hear about a budget, talk about a budget, think about a budget, and neither did I. But when I attached that to my why, what I really wanted to be doing, the budgeting was like, okay, let's get it done. It was the blueprint and essential. So let me explain to you how that really helped me make things possible, make my dreams possible. And you know what, making a budget, even though it's like cringeworthy and it takes out time and no one really wants to think about it, it's actually really good. It like helps you to alleviate some anxieties that probably really aren't even real. Like once you can see all the numbers, what the income is, what is going out, getting things organized to where you can pay for things and get them down, it takes away a lot of anxiety that we probably have for no reason. So let me share with you my steps on how I got my budget in order. Getting a planner was really, really important for me, and it made it fun. And I had a place to go to, like a place to write down the things that, like I was expected to pay for, appointments, like everything that's just floating in your head that could be causing you some kind of stress, or just sitting there taking up space that you could be using to, increase income in some kind of way, to tackle your debt, or anything like that. I just got it out of my head and put it down on paper. I had to kind of get all that chaos in my head, like find out how to get it organized. I'm really organized. So the first thing that I did was kind of make like columns: a needs, a must have, and really wants. Okay. And so I just kind of wrote that down on paper, and then I started to filter everything that I was paying for in those categories. I don't think I ever lived off of a budget, which is kind of scary, but it's the truth. Okay. I'm going to be honest. I didn't really live on a budget. I had like my figure in my head of what my take home was every 2 weeks, and then I had a figure in my head of like what my major expenses were, and that's really the honest to God truth. I had to start from the basics and essentially teach myself, and so I want to share that with you today. So what I did, because I didn't have any kind of, there was like no outline for me. Okay, there was no skeleton. So the skeleton that I created was in the needs category. All this stuff was needs. Okay, needs like shelter. Okay, that's a need. Electricity, water. But those were considered my needs. What do I need to survive and keep my kids, my family alive? What are those? Must have column were things like gas, groceries, just to kind of name a few. Now obviously you must have those, right? But I feel like that was a little bit more, I was able to manipulate that, so that's why I personally put that in the must have column. And then the other thing that I said, groceries, definitely must have, you must eat, and I also put that in the must have column for myself because I felt that was something that could be played around with. You could shop at different grocery stores, you could go to a farmer's market. What I actually did to kind of really help my grocery budget, because that's one thing where I knew, of course, like we need to eat, I need to feed myself, my family, my kids, but I did not have a number written down for that. I didn't even know what we were eating, other than, I knew we weren't really eating a lot of fast food. We were primarily getting everything at home and cooking and things like that, but that can still be extremely costly. So when I got that grocery budget in order, there was a lots of savings to come our way. So just to kind of give you an idea of how I did that, I would get, the large container of the rolled oats or old-fashioned oats, put those in the mason jars, put your milk, your fruit, put those in the refrigerator, just so that I knew in a pinch, when I was busy or something like that, I still was sticking to my budget, and it was honestly better for me health-wise. So that's an example of how I did that. Now also, I would write down like breakfast, lunch, and dinner, at least just categories or ideas like Taco Tuesday. If you were going to have some kind of burgers on Monday, whether that be a veggie burger, a salmon burger, chicken burger, regular burgers, at least so I understood like what ingredients I would eat at home, how much I was actually spending at the store, and this really helped me. And the other thing that was really important that I don't think I didn't pay any attention to was snacks. Okay, I would know all the things that we eat, and then when I went to the store to do my shopping, I would just get all of those things, which was very wasteful because you don't eat all of the bananas, you don't finish all of the grapes, things like that. You don't finish all of the chips, like you leave the bag open, whatever. So what I did was I was like, okay, I'm gonna get this many bananas, this many strawberries, maybe just keep it to 2 fruits. I know this is really, really deep in detail, but it really helped because just the way that I was spending, I knew what we would eat, so I would just get all of that when I went to the store. But I didn't need to get all of that at one time because, wasteful. So that's kind of how I did that. Now, in my really want category, I really didn't have anything really to put there. My eyes weren't on a vacation or a purse or anything like that. My focus was really on my financial freedom and spending more time where it mattered to me. And so that was essentially what was in my really want column, which kind of fueled all those things. But if I can, be honest and more practical, I would have to say Audible. Now, I don't need it and it's not a must have, but it's a really want. And the way I justify this is that on my journey to replacing my income, being a healthier, happier mother, managing all of these new things, whether that be working for yourself, working your job, trying to manage your household, I viewed it as I need more tools in my toolbox to manage all of this that I am now essentially in charge of. So I justified Audible as something that I really wanted, and essentially for me, like really a must-have, because I was able to go, and I constantly go to Audible to listen to books, memoirs, business, personal growth, things that will enhance my life. So that was something practical on my really want list. Other really important thing when it came to budgeting was knowing where I stood with debt. And if you download any of the common or popular apps, you can pull your credit report and you can just get a quick glance at debt that you owe, whether that be a car loan, a home loan, student loans, credit cards. What am I financially responsible for that's not a need, a must have, or a really want that is taking from my monthly budget? Once I got a real good picture of my debt, then I was able to kind of lump that total together and of course break it up. What I did was I went from smallest to largest balances that were due, and that kind of helped my psyche. Like for me, I didn't want to attack the biggest bill because it would probably take me the longest to pay off. So I started at the minimal, like the balances that were the least, and that kind of helped me like get a win, right? Like, so what I did was I would look at ways to make extra money to do that, whether that was picking up extra hours at work, selling things around the house that I was no longer really using, just kind of hanging on to, but that were either taking up space, things like that. So I did things like that to knock down those big balances, and that really paying off debt really made things a lot more manageable and made things a lot more possible. So that's really important. And when you have those bills and things floating out there just in your head and thinking, okay, I'm going to throw this at this and I'm going to throw this at that, like it's effective. But I found that when I got the total and then arranged it from smallest to largest, I was able to tackle it a lot better, pay things off a lot quicker, and then that helped my momentum. Like that helped keep me energized and motivated, like I'm crushing things. So you really want to know exactly how much money is coming in every month or every 2 weeks or however you get paid. You want to know how much money is coming in and how much money is going out. And you can even look at your bank statement. You can look to see like, okay, let me look just at a month's bank statement. How much was my shelter, rent, mortgage? How much was I paying for my cell phone bill? How much was I paying for, electricity? And then how much money went to miscellaneous stuff? How much did I spend here or there, or out on fast food, things like that? And how much did I actually need to spend? So having a really good idea on what's coming in and what's truly going out really helped put things into perspective. Now, one hack for me that really worked out and saved me a good bit of money was when I looked at my cell phone bill and plan. So I was paying like a traditional post-pay, whatever, like the plan where you have your phone, you have all your stuff, and they bill you at the end of every month. And so I looked at that to see how much my bill was, how much I was spending. And what I did was I was like, okay, I don't really need this, I don't really need that. And I just essentially said, let me go post-pay, because the money for me, it just made more sense for me. I don't have like older kids or anything like that where I'm having lines, so I can't speak to that. But for me, I compared what my phone bill was every month. So just say it was $200. And then I looked at what if I got a prepaid option, and I got, I started at the very bottom. I didn't even get like the unlimited prepaid. I started where I had like free talk and text, and I had this much data for internet. I don't even know how much that plan cost. It may have been like $30. Okay. So if my bill was $200, which I can't remember the exact figure I was paying a month, but it was probably close to $200. And then I went and chose a $30 prepaid plan. Now I'm saving $170 to allocate to maybe one of the debt bills I owe, or now that $170 can go towards electricity or, water, things like that. So that was a really important hack for me. Once I figured out little ways to do things like that, ways to save and put towards other things, all of that really, really helped me get my expenses in order. Money I already had, by the way. I just wasn't truly aware how I was spending it, and I just discovered better ways to spend that money once I had a goal. The second thing that really helped make all this possible was I created an emergency fund for 3 to 6 months, and I preferred like the 6 months because I really wanted to be as secure as I could in the event that things don't necessarily work out, or you have slower times. So 3 to 6 months is what I see is recommended. But I was able to kind of multiply what I was having to pay every month and then multiply that times 3 or 6. So I saved up for that, worked really hard, and I kind of did the same thing to acquire that money, increased my hours, looked for things to sell, and then also services I could provide, things that, somebody needed help with this or someone needed help with that. I just made myself available and found ways to earn some income off of things like that. I realized that I would need probably sensibly a little petty cash or extra cash to kind of help with my business, and then just some other expenses that I didn't want to necessarily touch my emergency fund, because that was for emergencies like a tire going out, a deductible for a healthcare visit, things like that. So I didn't want to touch my emergency fund money, but I also wanted to have like a smaller nest egg for, things I wanted to try in my new business, or, things like that. If I wanted to have money allocated towards a session, a course, or whatever the case might have been, I wanted to have a nest egg there for that. So I considered it like my petty cash. So I touched on Audible earlier when I mentioned that it was it was in my really want category when it came to my budget. But now I'm going to mention it because, and it doesn't necessarily have to be Audible. I would say reading and education in general. Now you need to do that because while you're budgeting, while you're creating an emergency fund, while you're doing the petty cash, life happens. You need to continue to build yourself up, because, we can have great ideas, or we can have we can start out really strong, but then through that process, through just life in general, through if tragedies occur, while you're on this journey, just the day to day where things kind of seem like they're stacking on top of your goals. And it was really important for me to keep reading. Now I say Audible just because it's easier for me to do that. I do read a lot of books, but I don't get to finish them as quickly as I do when I'm listening to things, like Audible, or it doesn't have to be Audible. I say Audible so much, but a podcast, other YouTube videos like this one. There are lots of ways to gain education, resources, and reading. What my point here is, you will need something that continues to kind of feed that fire inside of you. So, like whenever you have a big blaze, whenever you start your fire, because you've got all the logs and stuff, kind of TP'd, and they've got enough oxygen, you got the fire lit. And so that first fire that you start is blazing, right? But as you burn that wood, the fire starts to go down, right? It might not go all the way out, but eventually it will if you don't continue to add wood to that fire or ventilate it properly. And I am no fire expert. Understand my point that just like a fire, it starts out strong. This is not anything against like you or anything personal. It's just a fact of the matter. Just like a fire starts out really strong, but it needs you to continue to add wood to that fire. It needs you to continue to make sure that there's enough oxygen and air so that the fire can continue to grow and be successful. And that's what I'm saying when I say to do Audible or read or listen to helpful podcasts. You need to continue to strengthen yourself with knowledge and information in the area that you are interested in pursuing. And the way that I would do this is, I thought about, okay, my day, it feels so busy. What am I actually doing throughout my day? Okay, I'm working, I'm preparing dinner, all these things. And I realized, okay, in those times that I'm doing things, how can I be feeding myself? Okay, so when I'm commuting to work, how can I feed myself? And so I would say, okay, I can listen to a book while I'm doing a 30-minute or an hour commute. I can, listen to a podcast. I can, listen to someone else's success story to kind of fan my fire. And so those are all things that I did. I really utilized all the time, the 24 hours that I had available. If I could listen to a book while I was sleeping, then I really would have done that. And I've heard and read and looked at studies that show when you listen to things right in that phase of like conscious to unconscious, that switch right there, that things do actually absorb. So who knows? But all I'm saying is all the time I had available, I used that time as positively and as like resourcefully, as helpfully as I could to myself to keep my goals going. So another thing that really helps, and I think everyone should have, is people, like your cabinet. Like if you were, the president, right? The president's cabinet. They have cabinets in student council. They have cabinets in almost any aspect in life where, there's things that have to get done. Okay. So think about creating your own cabinet, your own support tribe. They don't have to necessarily be people doing the same things as you, but they need to be risk takers. They need to be people who can see big pictures, who can dream big dreams, whether that's family, if you're fortunate enough to have a few family members that have, tackled challenges themselves and persevered despite obstacles, despite naysayers. If there's a valued friend, if there's a valued coworker, someone you can see going after things they really want. Now, that doesn't have to always be financially tied. That could be someone going after being the best mother that they truly could be. That could be someone who is taking on life and seeing the adventures in life, skydiving, doing things opposite to the norm. You want them to be positive things that don't get you in any kind of, bad trouble. But you need people who aren't afraid to go for what they want, because there will be so many times when life itself seems like, what am I doing? Is this right? Is this really going to work? And I feel like you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself. You must believe in yourself. Okay. And then surround yourselves. How many selves do I have? I just have one self. Surround yourself with people who believe in themselves also, and they also believe in you. And so I think that's why it's so important that they don't necessarily, it's great if they're on the same, business venture or same journey as you are, because it's a little bit more like-minded. But even if they're just people who try new things, try despite the no's, despite the fears, that push through anyways, you need people like that in your corner. So you don't have to talk to them every day. But develop a relationship where you have someone to lean on, to hear perspectives. And I always view that as, you're trying to climb in whatever aspect you're in. You are trying to climb, you are trying to go, you are trying to reach new altitudes. And I don't necessarily want someone who might have my same thought process at all times, right? I don't want someone who's a little bit more negative than I, and I don't want someone who's at my same negativity level. Okay. Like I'm trying so hard to break out of different barriers psychologically. I need someone that's flying despite fears, that's flying despite doubts, that can see and imagine a better way of doing things. But someone who, when you need that encouragement, when you need a little bit of perspective, they can put a positive spin. They see things as glass half full. And I like to think of myself as someone who sees most things in my life as glass half full, but even the best person has bad days. So you want to reach for those people who are higher, who are above you, in my, just in my perspective, so that when you have a bad day, a bad experience, and I'm not going to say bad, you just have an experience that's not that you perceive in your favor. You need to be able to talk to someone who has a higher perspective, who can switch that around. So it is just as important as having a budget to me. Getting a budget and getting all your finances in order is essentially the same importance as having a tribe of people who are go-getters and continue to believe in yourself, even if no one else does. So you don't need to do anything. You don't have to do anything. Filter the things that are going into your ears. Okay. So when it comes to, obviously I mentioned education, reading, supporting yourself with helpful people. But what I'm really trying to say here is that filter the things that come into your ear, whether that's gossip. This could not have seem like it could have anything to do with the places you're trying to go in your life. You could think like, oh, listening to this person, whether that be at work or in your family, say something, that has a negative cloud over it, doesn't have anything to do with me directly or my business. What I will say about that is you need good vibes, positive energy, positivity. Okay, so you need to filter the things that go into your ears, because that plays in your head, that form of thinking or judgment, or just I can't put my finger on it, but the vibe of negativity. And we can ourselves be negative. So you want to minimize negativity in your life. You want positive vibes only. Okay. So if that's gossip, if that's music, because it doesn't seem like it's related, but it does have everything to do with outcomes, how you view the world, how you view situations. And just quite honestly, when you're trying to go after your goals, you don't have the time, the energy, to be focusing on things that are negative. So you only want energy. And so that's why I say filtering things that come in between your ears is also super important. And the things that you watch on television. Now, so when I realized that I was watching, say I watched a season of this, and I was like, you know what? That was actually this many hours. I could have been doing this with my time. And not to say, because I definitely think you need an outlet, like whether that be hanging out with friends or, getting caught up in a TV show. I think that's also okay, just in moderation. I think the way we were doing things before, or at least the way I was doing things before, really was kind of just like, I'm just doing it. This is here, this music is on, and that TV show is on. I'm interested in this. Let's just do it. But once I got a clear picture of what I wanted, okay, I have to be wise about what I'm allowing myself to watch and what I'm allowing to be fed into my mind. So sure, watch things you want to watch, but make sure too that it has a positive spin. Okay. That it's not negativity like coming into you, because you don't have the energy to get sad. Okay, maybe you could have the energy to get sad. I like sappy romance stuff. Okay, so I still have to squeeze that in at times, just because I like it. But what I'm saying is, I cannot sit and watch this whole thing that is about like dark, scary. It just. I feel like it feeds a mindset, and I'm trying to go the opposite way. So I do not want to allow anything in my atmosphere that is going to take energy, because I need that energy to grow, to be better. And even the news, I feel like I grew up and I would always see the news on, whether that be weather or, just news in general, right? So it's just something that is like a part of our lives, but I don't let it stay on in the background. It screams too much like stress, too much anxiety. So I don't even listen to the news that often. I might have like alerts set up, and even those, I one time had a news app downloaded on my phone, and it was popping up nothing but bad news, bad news, bad news, bad news. And it would give me anxiety or fear or like a feeling of devastation. And I was like, I don't need this. I do not need this. So I didn't want to like completely like turn a blind eye to things going on in the world. But I was like, how do you make the world a better place? How do you be a better person, a better being, a beacon of light if you're filled with darkness? So I just got rid of it. Okay. I'm sorry to admit that, but honestly, I had to get rid of the news apps on my phone. And if there was anything truly going on in the world or around me that was super important, people are talking about it. Your mom's talking about it. Your coworkers are talking about it. So you're going to hear those things that might require the most important. But I felt like I did not need to be fed a dose of anxiety, a dose of fear, a dose of stress. So anything that's going to bring you stress, anxiety, or cause you to worry for no unforeseen reason, then don't allow it into your space. And that is like my biggest tip. Don't allow those things into your space. And if you are presented with something that you do have to tackle, it is stressful, it is anxiety filled. You know what? Feel that. Okay, let's feel it. Let's breathe. And then, okay, this is scary. Is it real? Yes or no? What can be done about it? Make a plan so that all of that, like that cloud of fear that's just hovering there with no purpose, no agenda, can go away, right? You have an action towards what can be done to alleviate this. And if it's true, what what's actually the worst outcome that could happen? And that 9 times out of 10 helps to alleviate those things. How can I prepare for this? So that's my advice if something, is weighing on you that's heavy. By the way, don't forget to check out my other video on how I replaced my 8-to-5 income with vendor events and pop-up shops. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I hope this video provided immense value for you. I hope that it's things you can actually use, share with someone else, and it's just encouragement. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you on my next video. Bye.